Before the Mustang, before the Charger, there was one car that started it all. A beast so bold, it turned everyday streets into drag strips. This is the 1964 Pontiac GTO, the original godfather of muscle cars. Back in the early 1960s, American roads were changing. Cars were getting faster, louder, and meaner, but no one had yet dared to put true racing power into a street machine. That's when Pontiac engineers did something crazy, something revolutionary. They took a small, mid-size Pontiac Tempest and dropped a massive 389 cubic-inch V8 engine under the hood. The result? A car that could go from 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds in 1964. People didn't just see it, they felt it rumble through their bones. The GTO wasn't just another car, it was a statement. It said, you don't need to be rich to drive something wild. With its dual exhaust, chrome trim, and powerful stance, the GTO looked like a regular coupe. Until it blew past you at 110 miles per hour. And the best part? Pontiac didn't even advertise it as a race car. They called it Gran Turismo Omologato GTO for short. Borrowing the name from Ferrari, just to make a point. This wasn't a copy, it was a rebellion. Teenagers loved it. Racers worshipped it. And the media? They called it the car that started the muscle era. Within a year, every American brand wanted their own GTO. And that's how the muscle car wars began. The 1964 Pontiac GTO didn't just change the game. It created the game. Under the hood, it packed a 389 cubic-inch, 6.4L, V8 engine, pushing out up to 348 horsepower with the tri-power carb setup. With a 4-speed manual transmission and rear-wheel drive. This legend could burn rubber like no other, the true heartbeat of American muscle. When the Ford Mustang first hit the scene in 1964, it was already a hit. But by 1968, Ford had built something truly special. The GT Fastback wasn't just a car, it was attitude on wheels. With its sleek fastback design, deep growl, and signature round headlights, the 1968 Mustang GT Fastback looked ready to race even when parked. And thanks to Hollywood, it did more than just look fast. It became a symbol of speed and rebellion. Steve McQueen drove this exact car in the movie Bullitt. And that chase scene through the steep streets of San Francisco became one of the most iconic moments in film history. The Mustang didn't just steal the show, it stole every heart watching it. But beyond the fame, it was the engineering that made it special. Ford offered multiple engine options. But the one everyone remembers is the 390 cubic-inch V8. It gave the car brutal torque and an unmistakable sound. That deep, thunderous rumble that every car lover dreams of. The 1968 GT Fastback wasn't about luxury or comfort. It was about control, the raw connection between driver, machine, and road. When you pushed the pedal, it answered with pure aggression. It was a time when cars weren't built by computers, they were built by passion. And the '68 Mustang captured that spirit perfectly. It wasn't just a muscle car, it was a cultural revolution on 4 wheels. Even today, more than 50 years later, the sound of a Mustang GT starting up can give any gearhead chills. Because this car didn't just define an era, it defined freedom. Under the hood, the 1968 Ford Mustang GT Fastback came with a 390 cubic-inch, 6.4L, V8 engine, producing 325 horsepower and 427 lb-ft of torque. Paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and rear-wheel drive, it could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 6 seconds. A true street legend of. The year was 1969, the peak of the muscle car wars. Ford had the Mustang, Dodge had the Charger. And Chevrolet, they were ready to unleash something far more dangerous. Enter the Camaro ZL1, a car so powerful. It wasn't built for the streets, it was born for the racetrack. Most people didn't even know it existed. It wasn't advertised, it wasn't glamorous. It was Chevy's secret weapon, created through the COPO program, Central Office Production Order. A loophole that let dealers request special performance parts straight from the factory. And what they ordered changed history. A 427 cubic inch ZL1 aluminum block V8 engine. Originally designed for drag racing. It was lightweight, brutally fast, and expensive. Which is why only 69 units were ever produced. But those who got one knew the truth. This wasn't just a Camaro, it was a street-legal race car. On the drag strip, it could leave almost anything behind. 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, in 1969. That was unheard of. The ZL1 didn't come with fancy features or comfort. It came with pure, untamed power. When you started that engine, the sound alone could make every gearhead stop and listen. Even today, collectors call it the holy grail of Camaros. Because it wasn't about looks, it was about dominance. It proved that Chevrolet wasn't afraid to take risks. And that real performance comes from passion, not marketing. Under the hood, the 1969 Camaro ZL1 carried a 427 cubic inch, 7.0L aluminum V8, producing around 430 horsepower. But real-world tests showed it could push close to 500 horsepower. Paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and rear-wheel drive, it could tear through the quarter-mile in just 13 seconds, making it one of the most powerful muscle cars ever built. The year was 1970. Muscle cars were at their absolute peak. Every American manufacturer was pushing limits. But Chevrolet? They went all in. They took the already legendary Chevelle SS and dropped in a monster engine that would rewrite the definition of horsepower. The result was the SS 454 LS6, a car so powerful it didn't just compete, it ruled the streets. From the outside, it looked simple. A clean, aggressive body with twin racing stripes and an unmistakable SS badge. But under that cowl induction hood sat a beast waiting to be unleashed. The LS6 was a car you didn't mess with. When you pressed that gas pedal, it didn't move, it launched. The rear tires screamed, the engine thundered. And in seconds you were already halfway down the street. With over 500 lb-ft of torque, the Chevelle SS could smoke almost anything that dared to challenge it. From Mustangs to Mopars. In fact, it was often called the last true street king before emissions and fuel laws ended the golden age of muscle. The 1970 Chevelle SS 454 LS6 wasn't about fancy interiors or gadgets. It was raw steel, big power, and pure attitude. A car built for drivers who wanted to rule every stoplight, every drag race, and every stretch of open highway. Even today, collectors call it the crown jewel of Chevrolet muscle. Because this car didn't just make power. It made history. Under the hood roared the legendary 454 cubic inch, 7.4L, LS6 V8 engine. Officially rated at 450 horsepower and 500 lb-ft of torque. But real tests showed it made even more. With a 4-barrel Holley carburetor and 11.25:1 compression, the LS6 Chevelle could run the quarter-mile in just 13 seconds flat, making it one of the fastest production cars ever built in its era. In 1969, Dodge had one mission: win NASCAR. They'd come close before, but speed wasn't enough anymore. They needed something wild, something no one had ever seen before. So engineers went crazy. They took the already powerful Dodge Charger and reimagined it for one thing: aerodynamics. The result? A car that looked like it came straight out of a fighter jet. A pointed aerodynamic nose cone. A massive 23-inch rear wing towering over the trunk. And a body designed to slice through the air like a bullet. People laughed when they first saw it. But when it hit the track, no one was laughing anymore. The Daytona didn't just compete, it destroyed the competition. It became the first car in NASCAR history to break 200 miles per hour. That's right, in 1969. But its dominance came at a price. It was so powerful, so unstoppable, that NASCAR eventually changed the rules and banned it from future races. That's how you know you built something legendary. On the streets, it was just as intimidating. Only a few hundred were ever made for the public. And those lucky enough to own one had a piece of pure racing history parked in their driveway. The 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona wasn't just a car. It was a statement. It proved that when American engineers dream big and go all in, they build machines that the world will never forget.